Welcome to everyone to today's Q&A webinar session. Today's learning environment has prompted school districts to find innovative ways to make sure that students are getting the tiered intervention supports they need, despite all of the constant disruptions that we're experiencing. And so districts across the country are sharing the same goal, which is to help students achieve academic success this school year. So we're really excited today to have an esteemed panel of education leaders with us to discuss how they've navigated these uncharted waters and how reliable resources and consistent processes have helped them to achieve their goals. We have representatives from districts who have been long-term users of the Classworks intervention program, as well as districts who are in the first year of rolling it out. And the common thread that you're going to hear today is how having a consistent resource to use across districts that checks all your boxes has simplified their intervention processes during a time in our education landscape when saving time and saving frustration is essential. So, before we introduce our panel, just some housekeeping reminders. As always, if you have any questions for our Classworks people or for any of our wonderful speakers, please drop those in the chat. We're going to answer them all at the end of this presentation. All registrants will receive a recording of today's session along with a copy of the Q&A questions. And you can always access any of our webinar recordings on our website by subscribing to our YouTube page. So without further ado, let's introduce our panel. So today we have with us Tricia Kennedy, Executive Director, Instructional Development and Support for Gwinnett County Schools in Georgia. Gwinnett County Schools is the 13th largest district in the country. Since becoming Classworks partners 9 years ago, they have consistently grown and adapted the way that they've used the program to fit the evolving needs of their district. We also have Dr. Wendy Dorsey-Carr, Executive Director of Transformation from Public Schools of Robeson County in North Carolina. It's a 36 school district, and Robeson is in their first year of partnership with Classworks. We have Albert Whedon, Principal of Loachapoka High School in Lee County Schools, Alabama. Loachapoka has partnered with Classworks since 2019, successfully using the program to support intervention for grades 7 through 12. And from the West Coast, we've got Katie Shorey, Vice President of Curriculum at Big Picture Educational Academy. Big Picture is a K-12 academy, and they joined Classworks in 2020 when they had to fully go virtual and needed a reliable and remote-friendly instructional resource for intervention. And we have Trina Moss with us today, K-12 Special Ed Director in Washington County School District, Alabama. A 7-school district in Washington County has been partnering with Classworks since 2019. We look forward to hearing Trina's perspective on the importance of high-quality resources and streamlined processes to support special education. So thank you to our panel for joining us. As school district leaders, your expertise is highly valued. Again, for our audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them to chat. We'll be sure to address them at the end. If your question is for a specific panelist, let us know that as well. And so I will now turn it over to Jessica Reynolds, who is a Classworks Curriculum and Instruction Specialist.
Hello all, and thanks, Jen. I'm excited to have this very insightful chat. I am sure that it is no surprise that implementing intervention programs successfully with continuity and consistency can be a challenge for districts of all sizes. So Tricia, for a large district like Gwinnett, how have you approached using Classworks? Also, if you don't mind sharing, please let us know how the usage has evolved over these 9 years.
Thanks, Jessica. That's really a great question, thought-provoking question for us. We certainly have grown with our use of the application, especially as our district has increased in diversity in our number of English language learners and in students that have traditionally been at risk, those populations of students. Our schools in Gwinnett have a great deal of autonomy. And so there's actually a lot of different, a variety of implementation plans across the district from school to school. I will say it's been, because of that, it's been incredibly valuable to have the level of implementation support that we have from Classworks, from our specialists like you who do so much work directly with our schools, The intervention, what our schools have found and probably increased in their sophistication with this over the years, is that the Classworks is really being used in schools both as intervention, but also as acceleration and enrichment. And having the opportunity for those two ends of the spectrum has been really valuable for us. I think the use of it for an acceleration and enrichment opportunity has really increased with the years as we've gotten more comfortable with ways to use the application. We've been able to really extend the school day and the school year with our partnership with Classworks. We had a great example of that with our summer school support. We've been using a Classworks learning path for many years, but after the pandemic last year, when we had such an increased need for support for kids over the summer to accelerate their learning, we were able to really go up to that next level. We aligned the learning path with your help to our foundational standards in order to have students accessing not only their previous grade level standards, but also to accelerate as a preview into the next grade levels standards as well. One other thing that we've done that I think it's just been really key for our work has been our first and our most sustained integration with our learning management system, so that there's really a seamless digital experience for our teachers and our students. We've been able to that was one of the very first partnerships we have, where we integrated directly with our learning management system with D2L Brightspace, and we've been able to sustain that. And that makes it so easy for our teachers just to grab what they need for each individual student and then provide it for the students for easy access. So there's a lot of other things going on, but those are just the few of the ways that I think that we've been growing in our knowledge of and understanding and use of Classworks.
I really appreciate that. And it has been a pleasure, definitely, to be in the district. Thanks so much for sharing. And I know that we will continue to partner together and find some new ways. So I appreciate you sharing that for sure. So the next question is going to you, Wendy. I know Robinson is in its first year of implementation with Classworks for MTSS. You made a big program change during a time of great uncertainty and disruption. But will you share with us why the district identified the need for a consistent MTSS program and how the program is being used for your district?
Thank you for the question. So during the last few years, we noticed that core instruction was not meeting the needs of our students, and the pandemic exacerbated that situation. And so we saw a large number of our students were not meeting grade level expectations based on our end of year assessment results, but it also created a high number referral for special education. As a result of the data and through the vision of the superintendent, we decided that we need to develop a framework for support that develops clear and common expectations for all of our school leadership to be focused on instructional leadership. And this included hiring an assistant principal for every school, an academic coach for every K-8 school, additional teacher assistants for each school, and interventionists targeting K-1. In addition, we provided leadership coaching through the district in collaboration with the Department of Public Instruction, and professional development targeting instructional leadership is also being provided to help develop a common understanding of expectations from the district office down to the teachers. So that was the first layer we put in place, but then came the piece, how do we address the gaps? So the number of instructional gaps based on assessment data was wide in reading and math. So we decided we would purchase Classworks to use in kindergarten through 10th grade. And also in 11th and 12th grade with our special education students. Each student participates in 30 to 45 minutes of Classworks as part of their core instruction in conjunction with small group targeted instruction. So to just fill in some of those basic gaps that have arisen. Then to help layer that support, we also implemented Classworks to target our students that are needing tier 2 and tier 3 supports. And so therefore each school was asked to dedicate 45 minutes daily to intervention. During this time, students who need tier 2 or tier 3 support participate in additional time on Classworks about 60 to 75 minutes per week, in addition to targeted small group intervention based on the data from Classworks and other sources. We provided a sample schedule to help provide guidance on how to implement Classworks as part of the comprehensive plan for supporting student needs.
so that we could ensure that every school could build it into their schedule. We also used the interventionists that were hired for K-1 to help provide additional layers of support using Classworks resources when they pull small groups. With the support of Classworks, we've also layered in activities from Classworks into our pacing guides that support the work in core instruction. They identified activities for all of our K-8 pacing guides that align with the standards being addressed throughout the year and linked them into our pacing guides so teachers could easily access additional grade level content. This ensures that teachers did not feel like this was another thing being added to their already loaded plates. These activities help provide additional opportunities for teachers to participate in skills and standards necessary to prepare students for the high stakes testing students must participate in, but also help us reduce the number of students being referred for EC.
Wow, that is a great framework and so excited to hear. And I've had the pleasure to participate in some professional development with your teachers. And I see that it is definitely a dedicated group and they're very hardworking. And, you know, we have a little bit of fun on our trainings as well. So thanks so much. I appreciate that. And I'm going to kick it off to you next, Albert. Thank you so much for joining us again. Locochocopoca High School serves grades 7 through 12. Wow, you have a lot of tough ages there together. So I'm sure that implementing an intervention program in high school comes with its own set of unique obstacles. Will you share how you identify the students who need additional tier 2 and 3 supports? And it will also be great to hear how you've been able to work classwork intervention into a schedule successfully.
Thank you, Jessica, so much. Here at Locochocopoca High School, we're 7th through 12th grade. So it is kind of a difficult age group, but we have used it towards our advantage. Some of the things we use with Classworks is a universal screener. We also use STAR assessment screeners for reading and math, which, you know, it syncs directly into Classworks, which is very beneficial to anyone that has the program, but it does and uses STAR. So that's been very beneficial for us, for our students that need support. So we know where they are as soon as they take those assessments. And it's pretty accurate, you know, data, because we can compare the STAR data and also the screener from Classworks, and it's pretty much is aligned directly. And it also, you know, helps the administrators as we're going around looking at different groups, and we'll identify who's in certain groups. But as far as scheduling is concerned, we use our master schedule. We're a 7th through 12th grade school. We're on a 7-period day, so it really helps us that with our 7th and 8th graders, they have 4 core classes and 2 elective classes and a PE class. So we try to implement every day enrichment for math and enrichment for reading, which is very beneficial. So the student and teachers know they pretty much have a 55-minute period every day for reading, and then another period, 55 minutes for our math. And it's very beneficial for the teachers to, you know, get groups and work with them, and also at the same time, you know, working through the Classworks program, which the ILP, I guess we'll talk about a little bit later, but the individualized learning plan, it gives those students that time they need to work at their level, you know, try to work their way up to get to on grade level. Or also someone mentioned about acceleration. I think Ms. Kennedy did. You can accelerate the students' learning. So we're very flexible with our scheduling. For high schoolers, I know some people might have high schoolers doing it also. We use it through our health and driver's ed classes. So those are times you can, you know, put in some enrichment class time for Classworks for reading and math during the enrichment time for the high schoolers to take in 9th and 10th grade driver's ed, you know, career prep classes. So we have everybody kind of pushing in and working together to try to, you know, improve student achievement.
Well, this definitely sounds like a well-oiled machine there. And it's so great to see your passion for the students and the program. We definitely appreciate your partnership. So now the next question goes to Katie. Katie, Big Picture Educational Academy was purchased Classworks, in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, and it was a tumultuous school year. I'm sure we're all having flashbacks, but please describe the need you identified at that time and how Classwork fits what you're trying to accomplish.
So for us, we were looking for some type of an intervention piece or program curriculum that would allow students to have access to the skills that they needed to practice during a time when we were distance learning. And so that allowed, the Classworks allowed students to be able to do intervention when they were at home. Also, because we had so many students that have different adults helping them in different ways, we really liked the feature that Classworks had where it didn't matter what teacher it was helping the student, that they could all see the ILPs and address the needs of the students that way. And we needed an RTI program that fit the need at the time. And so Classworks filled that with the digital access and then having multiple educators being able to see the progress that the students were making.
That's great. Well, it seems like flexibility has been the name of the game, and you've really maximized the program to fit the needs of your school. And I appreciate you sharing. You all have had such forward thinking. I'm sure everyone is taking notes. And if you're not, go ahead and get that pencil and paper out. So this next one goes to you, Trina. As the special education director, you're looking for resources that meet the unique needs of exceptional students. How is Washington County using Classworks as a part of the special education program across the district?
So when my district chose to partner with Classworks, we were searching for a program that provided intervention in both reading and math. We were looking for a way to close the gap between our general ed students and our special education students. We looked at several programs when we were doing our research, and several programs provided one or the other. There were very few that provided both reading and math intervention. We were also looking for something that we could use K-12, since we have some of our schools are on one campus. We have a few schools that are K-12 schools, and we wanted to use something that would be consistent across campus. So when we came across Classworks, it checked those boxes. And we also needed a program that provided individualized support to the student specific deficits. And with all of these needs, having been a teacher myself, I was also looking for a program that was pretty straightforward, user-friendly, and work with the programs that we already had, because we didn't want to add something that would be difficult for the teachers to use or the students to use. We wanted it to be beneficial. So when we found Classworks, it has both reading and math. It fits a broad range of grade levels, especially when you're looking at the special education side, that when they're working on their level, it allowed for that. You didn't have to be working just on your grade level. You could be working on the student's independent level. And we also liked that it integrated with Renaissance Learning, as other people have mentioned, that it syncs with Star Reading and Star Math, and we're able to produce the ILPs using those STAR scores, and it helps correlate the data that we have for intervention. It also allows our students to have individualized plans to work on the deficits that they have, instead of just everybody working on the same thing. It helps us zone in on the specific needs of our individual students. And we also integrate the universal screener with Classworks, because we use STAR for everyone, but if a teacher wanted to compare or needed some more data for a student, they would use the universal screener in Classworks, and that would just be another piece of information that we have in order to further support the students. So it allows teachers to know what skills that the students have mastered and the ones that they need more support on, and they're able to reassign those skills to the students and get down to more of an individualized level for the students.
That is great. I'm glad that we're able to help you guys and really fit the needs of your students, because we know the importance of high quality resources and just good practices to support your students. And it definitely sounds like you guys have that rolling there. So appreciate that. And we're going to roll it back to you, Albert. Your school is using Classworks to support special education students as well. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to Trina's takeaways?
Oh, yes, yes. The programs allows for our resource students to build individual skills, pretty much on their levels. And of course, to close those achievement gaps and those learning gaps. That's very, very important. The program also is, we're able to get weekly progress monitoring. So at our school, we use it weekly for weekly progress monitoring. That's on every Friday. So we try to open it up so we can get some progress monitoring data, which gives us data plots and aim lines that gives your teachers, a great way of going back and trying to do some more intervention, find out what works as far as their core instruction that they're giving to the students, which is very important. That's why we're all in this right now, especially at this level in education. So when you take all those things, and the kids can also take the Chromebooks home. We're a one-to-one school, so they're able to go home. And also for those accelerator learners, those students that are really taking this learning seriously, and they see those goals that they're trying to reach in Classworks, and they want to try to, get on screen time and try to move from a 8th grade level to a 9th grade level. It means a lot to those kids, and when they've been able to see that and share with their parents, it goes a long ways as far as, student motivation. And another piece I want to mention is about when we're talking about special education students, the AAA kids. They have a great opportunity to get on Classworks also. So we give it to them and they love it. It's on the screen, they can listen, all the things that those kids need in order to be active and interactive and engaging in learning. And they can look at that screen and they can see, you can talk to them and let them know how are you on a 3rd grade level, you can move up to 4th grade level. So I think it's very beneficial to those AAA students also at your school to take advantage of the Classworks programs. Because once again, it gives you an aim line, a data plot, which you can send home to the parents or to the teachers or students, and they all know that this is where I am today. Or this week, I might have dropped down. So now that's extra motivation to go back and review, the individualized learning plan and, go back in there and retest.
That's great. I appreciate both of you sharing, and just to see the differences so that others out there can know how this really can fit the needs of your district. So we're going to transition just a little bit. And one thing that we all have seen, it's a common thread that we've heard and we've seen across our districts, is that everyone is looking for a valuable and easy tool, also one that helps you just understand data easily. So this is critical, I know, when creating good criterion and just a great framework for intervention processes. So I'd like to dive a little bit into that. And this question is going to be for the group. And it goes a little something like this. I'll make sure I talk to everyone. You guys don't have to all rush at one time to answer. I know you're excited to do so. How are you using consistent data, and how is it contributing to better decision-making in relation to your intervention program? So we'll start out with you, Tricia.
Great. I get to jump in first. Yay. So yeah, data is important to all of us. We've got to know where our students are in order for us to know what we need to do to help them to move to that next level, right? So in Gwinnett, we have a variety, and I'm sure everybody else does too, but we've got a lot of different intervention strategies that we know are research-based, effective, and that we've provided to our teachers and trained our teachers on in order to meet specific needs, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. You've got to know the student's skills needs, and then you've got to know the specific evidence-based intervention to address that particular need, right? So with that many different intervention strategies that we are incorporating in the district, it's difficult to kind of monitor where students are unless you do have a curriculum-based progress monitoring tool. And so, when we first came in with Classworks, it was providing the interventions for us and one of those options for us. But at that point in time, we weren't looking at it as a progress monitoring tool, but now it's become very critical for us in the district to help us with that tier 2 and tier 3 in particular progress monitoring against norms, regardless of what strategy our teachers are using to address the particular student needs. So that's one thing I think of immediately that's really been value added for us. And the other thing I want to slip in there too, though, is kind of on a different side, and that's just the value of monitoring student progress within in the system and the dashboard that we have available to us. And the example I have for that is last year, summer school, I mentioned earlier that we kind of ramped up our summer school option for students in using Classworks last year, and we aligned it directly with those foundational standards so that students could both remediate and accelerate. Well, we decided we needed to have folks monitoring the student work even during the summer. So we had staff at each school that were using the dashboard to monitor their students' progress so that they could then step in and help redirect or, contact the student, say, hey, it doesn't look like you've been in for a few days, what's going on, or it looks like you're really struggling on this concept area. I'm going to move you into another topic and give you a chance at another topic. And we used our clerical and classified staff at the schools to do that. We had 4,000 kids in the program, and we needed to have an easy way to monitor. And those folks they weren't coming with instructional background. They needed a quick and easy way to be able to identify when students needed some support. And it was very easy to train them and get them used to using the dashboards in order to do that. So it was a real win, a very recent win for us in using data in order to support students even during the summertime.
That's great. It's wonderful that we can get everyone involved in student progress. I appreciate you sharing that for sure. I'm going to kick it off to you, Katie.
So we also use classified staff for our RTI program. And so we started implementing the progress monitoring that Classworks has that tool so that the general ed teachers could also see the growth that the students were making. They are pulled out for intervention. And so a lot of times when we take the students from a gen ed class to intervention, they want to see that it's worth it. And so it was a way that when I have my PLC meetings with the teachers, that I could show them that the students were actually spending time working on skills that needed to be worked on during the intervention time when they were pulled out of class. And so having that data there to show the teachers, that the students are actually making progress and tracking with the progress monitoring and being able to show them those growth charts that Albert was talking about has been really helpful for the teachers to buy into it and really feel comfortable when we're pulling kids out of the class. So yeah, that has been really helpful for us with the tracking the data. We're a small school. We only have about 250 students at the elementary and 100 at the high school. But we're a charter school, and so data is really important to us because it depends on our renewal. So it has been nice to be able to have that data to show them and see for the students as well.
And that's great. It sounds very much like an all hands on deck. And I think we all can agree that no matter the size of the district or school, it is an all hands on deck situation. So thank you for that. Wendy, do you have anything to add?
Yes, of course. So this, of course, is a new year for us, a brand new year with Classworks. So it's really been great because we've been able to get data and reports through Classworks to help support and develop a comprehensive plan of how to make some good informed decisions for the schools and for the individual small group or target intervention sessions. The district team and each school team participates in monthly data meetings with Classworks, which has allowed us to reevaluate the work and really look at what needs to be changed. Because we know we cannot wait. We have to make quick decisions when we're talking about our students. It has provided us a tool to make informed decisions about next steps for improvement and provides us opportunities to collaborate among a variety of stakeholders. As I said earlier, we've hired a bunch of different people as part of this plan to make sure that we have the right people to help support those schools as they're working through and putting these interventions in place. By having these consistent data meetings, it has allowed for more opportunity for a variety of departments to collaborate on the curriculum and assessment and professional learning needs in the district and in the schools. Through our collaboration, we've also been able to begin developing a plan for revising our pacing guides, just looking at how it may not be meeting core, and that's why we may have so many students that are receiving intervention. It includes a cross-section of members from the district level, but also at the school. In addition, we have some additional data that we've been able to import into Classworks. We really appreciate that from Classworks. Our common formative assessments are now also, that data is imported, and we have additional activities that students can do based on their classwork, common formative assessment results that are set aside just for those formative assessments. So if they're weak in certain skills, their activities now linked directly based on the assessment. We have also been able to align additional things, so like we talked about in the pacing guide, to help fill in those gaps. But what we've also been able to do with our ILP, or individual learning path, not only do we use the universal screener, but our state check-ins or benchmarks are also uploaded, which helps us also fill in additional gaps that may have been identified through those assessments. So it allows us really to have 3 different data sources inside of Classworks to really help gauge what's working for students and how do we make good sound decisions about the progress throughout, along with the progress monitoring tool to see, are they meeting those grade level expectation, or are we closing those gaps when we talk about interventions? Because we know we don't have another minute to wait for our students to make a decision. So we have to make quick sound decisions based on that data, and Classworks allows us to do that.
It's so great to hear that we are part of the process for all of you. Very exciting for Classworks. So Trina, I know that data is a huge part of the special education process. So how can you weigh in on this for us?
Yes, so although we began our journey with Classworks as intervention for special education, once we realized the opportunities that we had with Classworks, we have started using it with our RTI and Tier 3 intervention as well. And so that allows us to have our data meetings, as someone else mentioned, we use it for progress monitoring, and during our data meetings, the teachers are able to use the data that is provided by Classworks to see if the students are progressing and are able to work out of the RTI program, or they are able to see if they are continuing to have difficulties and further deficits. And they also use the information to see if they need to be referred to the special education department for an evaluation. After we have a process that we've developed here that determines, if they have been in RTI for, so many weeks, then if they are still continuing to decrease instead of showing a progress, then during our data meetings, they're able to have discussions about whether it is a referral for special education, or if there just may be something going on at home. And a lot of you talked about the COVID impact. We're able to use that information along with other programs that we have, the STAR data, grades, and just look at the child as a whole and see if it is see what the common factors are, and whether they just need some more intervention or some outside help, or if it is a good referral for the special education program.
These are really great best practices. So now I'm going to kick it off to Albert. Let's hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Jessica. The data portion is very, very important. Well, I want folks to understand that this program, it tracks student mastery, the skills mastered, the time on task was very important. Kids gonna have to have the opportunity to go in there and work the program. So you have to build this time in. And it also is an opportunity for the teacher to reteach the lesson, to that student, whether it's in a small group or, 2 or 3 students or a whole group. The whole class might not get the lesson that was on Classworks, or the standard that was covered. So this allows that teacher to target each individual student's need. And it also allows for the teacher to create a small group, and work with the students while some students are working on Classworks within that classroom. So it makes for a wonderful, I guess, learning environment. If you're a classroom teacher and you like instruction, you like to move student, you like data, you like to, move students, and the students want to learn, they want to get better. All of these things allow the teacher to reteach skills, based off their progress monitoring tool. That's a weekly thing that you can do to implement and gives you raw data instant. And I don't want folks to get lost in this. It also helps accelerate, the learning for the students who are above grade level. Some of those kids you might have in your gifted program who might be in 7th grade, but, might be on a 9th grade level. So you're able to, get that data for them, and it motivates those students who are at grade level and above grade level. So don't think it's just for students who, or below grade level or on grade level. You can accelerate it, and it shows for great data. And just see some of those kids who are, I guess, above grade level and see, hey, I'm working on, 9th grade work, and within Classworks, and it's pretty amazing feeling for them.
This is all so great. Thank you all so much. Each of you have provided tremendous insight, but I do have a final question. Don't worry, it's not a pop quiz or anything, so you can rest assured with that. And that question is, what advice would you give to anyone who is trying to create a sustainable RTI or MTSS process? And Trina, I will start with you.
Okay. So my advice of having a successful intervention program, the teachers and administrators need to understand the importance and benefits of having a strong intervention program. And since that's where I am using it the most, in order to do that, there needs to be time allotted for that intervention time. There needs to be a specific time set aside for intervention in the schedule, an identified time. We have those times throughout our school district, K through 12. We have one of the first things that we do at the beginning of the year is we look at our elementary schedules and the teachers and allow them to schedule that time within their classroom. We have some schools have, or some grade levels have more time. Some have, up to the 30-minute time. Every day we have it scheduled in all of our schools every day. It gets a little more challenging in middle school and high school, and we really have to look pretty much every year at the master schedules in middle school and high school. But we have created what we call a skinny period. It's a short block of time that's 30 minutes. And we've done that by like adjusting homeroom times or taking those out completely, or adjusting times here and there, where we have a block of time where everybody is either in intervention or enrichment. No matter what, no matter where you are, what level you're on, you're doing some sort of additional work other than your core. And we also use Classworks in many ways with that as well. Depending on the grade level, we also use it as in our enrichment time. But the biggest thing is, and the advice that I would give is to schedule those times, because if you set it and you say, okay, here's your intervention, get it in during the day, core instruction. And I understand that, like I said, having been there myself, core instruction sometimes trumps that. You're trying to finish some lessons and things, but if you schedule it in and you get used to doing it every day, then and in middle school and high schools, provide that time, and the kids know where they're going and which room that they're going to, and and have them set with the teachers that will benefit them the most, then it will be most effective.
That is great advice. Thanks, Trina. How about you, Katie?
So for us at our school, we do have a scheduled time for it every day. We have it built into our schedule, like other people have been saying. So we have an intervention time that's blocked out for them to use. And also we pull students to do more intensive higher level intervention. And so they're pulled for that. But my advice to create a sustainable RTI would be to stick with it. I know sometimes it feels like, oh, that didn't work and we're going to try something else. For us, Classworks has worked, and the teacher buy-in, I think, is huge because they see the benefit of it. And so just staying consistent, calling out the time. For me, part of my role is to go into classrooms and do observations. So to actually see them doing it and not just put it on a schedule and say, here's the time for you to do it, but actually go in and see it working and, acknowledge that the teachers are doing what has been asked. And then seeing the growth of the students, I feel like also helps keep it consistent. And, with the buy-in, teachers are willing to do it. And so that's what's worked for us.
I am definitely seeing a theme here. Wendy, would you mind sharing what's working?
So what we found, it's really imperative to have a clear plan. And we mean how it's going to be implemented, how is it going to be sustained, how are you really going to support the schools, the administration and teachers with the implementation of the entire framework, because it is a school improvement process. And so what we looked at is how do we provide professional development? It's something new. They need to understand the process. I know MTSS has been around for years, but when you're trying to re-envision what it looks like, there has to be a lot of professional development in the process. And so we had to think about how do we make this happen with already the packed schedules. And so ours is a little different, that our teachers are actually asked on Saturdays once a month to participate in Classworks PD as one part to make that happen, so that we don't interrupt the regular schedule, to ensure that we're not taking instructional time away. And so you have to think about what is going to work for your system to make that happen, so that you can really provide the sound professional development and the support and people that will help that process through. So we think about how central office and our team, everybody here, will support that process, and how do we work all together in those different departments, thinking about curriculum, thinking about student support services, all those different services that need to help and layer those support pieces so that they can be successful, ensuring that they provide that equitable education for each of our students.
I love it. This is great. Albert, I know you've got something for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, Jessica. Thanks for this opportunity, but I would strongly recommend, the administrators to strategically set their master schedule. I've heard that consistently here about the scheduling. Talk to your administrators, set that master scheduling up to include a daily enrichment class, because I seen in the chat also about putting extra work on teachers. They don't want extra work. We all know that. So create an enrichment time in your master schedule. That way, all your class work, research-based strategies and everything, you'll implement data-driven the program. You can work towards closing those achievement gaps. Also take advantage of the physical education classes. Classworks also offers the SEL. I don't know if you all know about the SEL survey that you can take, social emotional learning survey. So get those PE coaches, those health teachers, to learn about their students and implement the SEL, in those physical education and health classes. That all goes back to your master scheduling to make sure you're able to put all these things in and use that data to enhance, your small group instruction. That's how you move students, but it has to be a collective effort. And you have to make sure you're not putting extra burden on someone. So if you create that master schedule, so it's the time is already allocated in, you're not taking away any core time. Teachers don't want to give up that. It's a push-pull thing. So enrichment, use your elective classes like physical education, health, get the SEL in there, because that's very, very important in socio-emotional learning, of that kid. So those are some of the things I want to make sure that you want to take back with you and using that program.
All right, Trisha, I think we have scheduling, consistency, continuity. What do you have for us?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that y'all are brilliant to get all these brilliant people together. I'm learning so much just listening to my colleagues, because everything that was said, the intervention period and the scheduling, the having a clear, consistent plan, the importance of the PD, the importance of sticking to it, that's all been really critical in Gwinnett as well. The only piece I would add to that I think is just kind of a supplement is that If we've got to make it easy for teachers to identify what the specific student need is, and then easy for them to know how to help based on that specific need. And so I mentioned earlier that we have a menu of strategies that over the years we've identified in Gwinnett that we've aligned to those very specific, most common academic needs for students, mainly literacy and numeracy needs. And so what we've tried to focus on is first identifying those strategies, connecting them to the specific student learning needs, the skills, that are going to show up in the data, and then training the teachers on how to do that, how to identify the intervention need, use the data to do that, how to implement the strategy with fidelity, and how to progress monitor and adjust as the data comes in on the student's progress.
This has all been so great. I appreciate you all for sharing all the great things. Again, those of you who are out there, make sure you got all these great takeaways written down. If not, we'll get them to you. No worries. Well, that concludes our session today. Again, thank you all for joining us so much. You guys have shared just so much knowledge and so many things that I know is just kind of swirling around for everyone. But we do have just a few minutes left. So if there is anyone in the audience who has questions for either us here at Classworks or for our panelists, please feel free to just kind of drop those in the chat and we'll be happy to get those rolling for you.
We did have a question in chat that looks like came in through Facebook Live. We are live streaming this. So how do you build buy-in with building leaders and teachers when implementing a new program or new initiatives, especially in the education environment we're in now? And I know, Tricia, you touched on this just a little bit, but I'm going to just ask you to expand on that for us real quick, because you've been our partner for such a long time. We may not be a new program, but you have done a lot of evolving and new initiatives. How do you get your teachers and your administrators bought into that?
I don't have any magic bullets, but I think everybody would all agree that our teachers care a lot about their kids and how well their kids are doing. And so anything that we can show them that's going to make it better for them, more efficient, more effective for them to help their students, that's how we generate buy-in. And in today's environment in particular, when we can really identify the why behind anything that we're trying to get them to embrace, and especially if the why it has to do with specific needs that it's going to address for the students. As we've tried some new and different kind of intervention opportunities this year, last year, and including the summer piece that we have with Classworks, we've found teachers to be very open to it because it's addressing a very real felt need. And that is that they know they've got so many students, and they're building leaders as well, so many students that need that additional opportunity to learn, and they need help managing it. So anything that's going to help them manage that, we found providing that why, that really strong why, is really foundational.
That's great. And Wendy, I want to also pose that same question to you as someone new to the program, but also as someone who made a huge program change district-wide. How are you working with your teachers to kind of build buy-in and excitement for your new initiatives?
So I'm going to say the data has helped us. So what we found is that data speaks for itself. When we saw certain schools showing tremendous growth or certain classrooms showing tremendous growth with the data, the other teachers and administrators really started buying in much more. It was really proof for them that, yes, Classworks is a tool that can help us. And so the great piece that has helped us also, Classwork puts out who's really growing a lot in each of the schools or district, and it's really caused them to create even more competition between each other as far as I'm going to make sure my students get on because I want to see that tremendous growth at my school or that tremendous amount of improvement in my students. So it's really created sort of an excitement of look at what my students can do. And so that has really helped us create a strong buy-in, but also providing a lot of additional support. So looking at where we changed some of our professional development with Classworks, where we took and asked Classworks to do individual sessions now with our schools. So each school has so many hours and they use that targeted professional development to help create even more buy-in because some of them just didn't know, they wanted deeper understanding. And so this really helped them tailor some things that they just weren't sure about. So just being able to do those pieces and constantly speaking about the data and having academic coaches that can then help the teachers and support them in the process with the implementation. All of those extra layers have helped us create a stronger buy-in with the program.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all our panelists. Again, we really appreciate you guys being here with us. We hope everybody enjoyed our program today. Thank you again to everyone. We hope everybody has a great day.